The main focus of this video will be the display and the amount of information that you get on it, and we will also talk about how these watches look off of my wrist and on my wrist. So first let's look at each watch and how they look off of my wrist. Then we will compare and talk about the major differences, and at the end of the video I will give you my final thoughts on which one should and probably is the best one for you to get. So right here I have the two different sizes. Now the size difference is pretty obvious. Spec wise, the 40mm and the 44mm version are very different. They may have the same height, but all of the other measurements are different. The 44mm version is wider and longer, so we got a 44.4 by 9.7mm smartwatch, and you do notice the difference in size when you are wearing both of these watches. Now if it comes to 40mm version, right here you've got a 40.4 by 9.7mm smartwatch, and I barely feel it when I'm wearing it, whereas the 44mm version is a bit more noticeable. So if you want to slide it underneath your sweatshirt or your jacket, you see quite a difference in bulk. Also, if you're doing some sports, you really notice the difference, not because of the weight, but because of the size, since both watches are pretty light. Now the 44mm version weighs right around 34 grams, and the smaller version weighs in at 29 grams. Once again, just like the older Samsung Galaxy Watch 6. Of course, you also have some physical buttons on these watches, but despite of the overall size difference, the two buttons on the side have the exact same size. Now before we get to see how these watches compare on my wrist, let's quickly talk about the different straps. So of course both come with the same quick release feature, which makes it super easy to swap out the bands. Now the bigger difference is the size of the bands. So if you get the 40mm version, you will get a small to medium size band, and if you get the 44mm version, you will get the medium to large band, which is really a lot longer. But fortunately, both are 20mm wide, which means you can also get a smaller band for the larger smartwatch if you have a smaller wrist, but you still want to go with the bigger watch. Another difference are the colors in which you can get these two smartwatches. The 40mm version comes in the colors of green and cream, and the 44mm version comes in also in green, but you can also get this one in silver, and today I've got 2 times the green version. So let's finally talk about the size of each watch and how they look on my wrist. Now first you have to know that I have about 19cm wrist, which is about 7.5 inches, just to put my wrist into context. Now personally, for my wrist size, I would definitely prefer the bigger 44mm version, as it fits and looks much better on my wrist. Now the smaller 40mm version kind of disappears on my wrist. You see a lot of my skin on the upper and the lower end of the watch, but I guess it's really a preference thing. I would say if you have a wrist that is similar to mine, or anything between 18 to 21 centimeters, I would definitely go with the 44mm version, and if your wrist is a little bit smaller, somewhere in the range from 14 to 17 millimeters, I would go with the smaller 40mm one. Now if you want to decide between these two smartwatches, you also have to think about the display size and how they actually feel on your wrist. Now I don't want to say that these two watches are bulky, but you really feel that the 44mm version is larger, and you get some larger air gaps between your wrist and the watch. Now I also feel a difference when I'm sleeping at night and I'm rolling over to the side, when I want to put my hands just inside my pockets, or if it's just shaking someone's hand. Now I do feel the 44mm version a little bit more in those actions, and the 40mm version is almost not existent. So comparing the display size of these two watches was really no surprise. On a lot of your apps you get more information displayed on the larger Galaxy Watch 7. Like for example, let's start with your emails, your notifications and your messages. On the 44mm version you will see a lot more words when you open up your emails and messages, or even before if you get that pop-up. So I set myself an emails, and right here you can see for yourself. It's about 5 words that you get on the pop-up, and within the message you roughly get another extra 5 to 6 words. Some words are cut off by the shape of the display, but it's really not that big of a deal. So this one right here is probably the biggest difference. Also in your Google Play Store you basically see 3 whole apps on the 44mm one, and only about 2 to 2.5 apps on the smaller version. I also took a look inside of the weather app, and there's no difference right here, just like with all of your other tiles if you swipe to the left. All of your activity stats or the health tracking is the same on both watches, and just the icons are a little bit smaller on the 40mm Galaxy Watch. Of course I also checked that I'm using the same text size on both watches. Right here I just left both watches in the default settings. In your settings you will get the next differences. Like in your notification settings you will get a lot more text displayed on the bigger Galaxy Watch. there's really a lot cut off on the 40mm version. Same goes for your security and privacy settings, even though it's not that obvious right here. And that goes probably for most of your settings besides of the account and the backup settings. Right here you actually get more information on the smaller 40mm Galaxy Watch 7. As for last, let's take a look into the Spotify app, and what can I say? You definitely have more to see on the larger smartwatch. It already starts in the main menu, then you will see basically the third playlist in your list, which you can actually not really see on the smaller watch. But when it comes to your songs, I actually only see 4 songs on each watch. Now at the end of the day, which watch should you go for? First you have to keep in mind that both of these watches come with the exact same features and you're not missing out on anything if you get the smaller or the larger version of the Samsung Galaxy Watch 7. The battery of the 44mm version might be a little bit bigger with a 425 mAh battery. On a smaller Galaxy Watch you only have a 300 mAh battery, but the difference in battery life isn't so big. I also went ahead and measured the lock size, and on the 44mm version I measured 51mm, and on the 40mm version I measured 47mm. But everything else is the same on both watches, so it really comes down to your personal preference. So I already told you what size I would go for, but comment down below which wrist size you have and which size of watch did you get. It helps me, but also everyone else that is watching this video and don't know which size to get. And guys, there we have it. I also did a single review about the Samsung Galaxy Watch 7 with all of the features explained, the GPS, fitness and the health tracking. Just click right here to get right to the video. Now I also compared the sizes of the Galaxy Watch FE with the Galaxy Watch 6. If you want to see this one, click right here. And guys, that's it. I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more tech reviews. And I guess with that one being said, I will see you in the next one. Peace.